project that finally became this book began as a web trail from the British Museum. It's a sampling of items from that museum across centuries and cultures of mostly visual representations of same-sex desire and gender ambiguity. Each depiction has a paragraph or two of explanation, much as you'd find on the plaques that accompany artworks in a museum exhibit. The items are arranged roughly in chronological order. The book starts with its only extended piece of prose, an introduction that, in explaining the choice of the word gay for the title, reviews the work that has been done on sexual identity over the last century and a half. It cautions, as historians such as Foucault have done for almost half a century now, against viewing past cultures through the gender constructions of our own time. In viewing these various artifacts, in other words, it is impossible to have an infallible gaydar across other cultures and periods. The introduction also reminds the reader, more generally, that art is never simply a reflection of social reality. Artists, whether great painters or simple potters, craft their work in accord with particular personal ideas. Their work can never be read as a transparent window or reflection of the culture in which they were produced. Still, Parkinson argues, specialized histories such as this can offer a valuable alternative to the official histories that nation-states have often produced and still produce for themselves. More specifically, he expresses the hope that this book will not only illustrate some aspects of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender history, but will also show the diverse material forms that such history takes. And with that, we're off to the items on display. Parkinson starts with a small sculpture found near Bethlehem that dates back almost 11,000 years. It's two persons embracing. Nothing makes it absolutely certain that this is a man and a woman, Parkinson observes. The genders of the figures are unmarked. We need not assume that heterosexuality or the modern nuclear family as we know them are the default options for any society, ancient or modern, he concludes. So this collection begins in ambiguity. That remains one of its main themes. We see a clay relief of the goddess Ishtar from Mesopotamia with the claws of a male bird of prey, and are told that in some instances she was even depicted with a beard, though we don't get to see an example of that. There is also a statue of the male god Shiva from 12th century India, in which the figure wears one man's earring and one woman's. There are also examples of human sexuality that don't get into specifics of same or other sex, such as this funerary papyrus from 10th century BC Egypt. Parkinson assures us that it is not a work of pornography, but rather an original way of depicting how the earth, represented by the guy on his shoulders, renews itself each year because it is self-sustainingly fertile. What might appear to us as pornography, therefore, is only iconography. As Parkinson explains in the preface, desire and identity are not limited to sexual activity, but inevitably, depictions of sex are the most unambiguous historical records that we have of such desire. As a result, there are also plenty of examples of same-sex activity in this exhibit, most of them involving men. Some are mild, such as this early 19th century print by Japanese artist Kitagawa Utamaro of one warrior tenderly holding the hand of his male page, while another warrior looks less tenderly at a woman. One of the more remarkable of the depictions of same-sex desire comes from the 1st century AD, a silver drinking cup supposedly found near Jerusalem, now known as the Warren Cup, because it was once owned by a gay American art collector, Edward Perry Warren. The book doesn't offer us much in the way of an analysis of such a striking item, however. Rather, it gives us its history and a few generalizations about sexuality in the Roman Empire, and then moves on to the next item. At such times, this book gets a little frustrating. Unlike an exhibition catalog, there are no essays to offer detailed scholarly discussions. When we get to the 20th century, in the last few pages, the examples are less striking for being more familiar. We see, for example, 3 figurines sculpted by German ceramicist Hedwig Marquand in 1924, 2 of them women. But while Marquand herself may have been a lesbian, it's hard to see what her sexuality had to do with these works. There's nothing in this book that is intended to change our way of seeing sexuality and identity through the ages. Rather, it provides us with several examples of how it has been depicted, reminding us that no matter how natural our desires may seem to us, depictions of it from other times and places need to be viewed with an awareness of how differently something even as apparently natural as that has been perceived.